you called 402-488-HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Doren. God bless you.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Summer is near. Now's the time to clean or replace your furnace filter to get the most out of your AC. Find energy-saving tips at les.com/save-energy.
Load up on meat and more this summer at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's specials through August 22nd are $2 off 12-ounce grass-finished ribeyes with limit of 2 per visit. And don't forget to check out their Friday feast this week and every week. Plus, big news, they have 2 new locations now open at 30th and Yankee Hill in Lincoln and 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer and the best place in town for shuffleboard. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for the Shuffleboard Corner. Come on Sundays for Open House League all day starting at 11 a.m. and enjoy $3 tall boys and $3 wells. Shake off the start to the work week with karaoke on Monday nights. And don't forget, happy hour is every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and you are always welcome to bring in your own food. Arnold's Tavern in the heart of Havelock.
General contractors, business owners, property owners. The success of your business requires business with the right people. And the right people, when it comes to drywall, acoustical ceilings, and specialty products are at Premier Drywall. Kevin and his give your project a response and it deserves.
Get all of the attention to detail and quality that you would expect from someone who's been in the business for 30 years. For your new builds, build outs, or renovations, reach out to Kevin. Kevin at premierdw.com. Premier Drywall in Lincoln.
Gather round. This is the Ticket Water Cooler.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Coming at you live in the heart of Lincoln, America.
I said, hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
On air and online at theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Jake Bakoven and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
Thanks for joining us here on a Tuesday. It is the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket, and we're excited because there is football this weekend, week 0, baby. And then, of course, next week you get into kind of believing and just kind of pushing your way to get to Thursday, Nebraska and Minnesota. And, of course, Nebraska football, too, kind of waiting for this Friday. That's kind of when game week starts. And then we might get a depth chart. We might get at least we're going to hear from Coach Matt Rule and kind of have your weekly presser set up. So it's coming this week. We're kind of getting to the swing of things.
Well, it's funny that we keep mentioning the depth chart, and Matt Rule is like, I've never been asked this much about depth chart, but it's highly anticipated to see where I don't think I've been this excited for a depth chart in quite some time, mostly because there's a lot of positions still up in the air. Extremely interested to see. I mean, they already said there's going to be an or, but even then, it's kind of with the backup quarterback. It's kind of whoever's listed second is the backup quarterback. I understand there's an or there, but whoever's number 2 on the depth chart, that's the number 2. Interested to see how the wide receivers shake out. Offensive line, who's going to be starting where, because Teddy should be back here soon, but even then, if he gets a week of practice, are you going to throw him out there for Minnesota? Are you going to hold him out and wait, throw him out there for Colorado? Do you wait after your 2 Power 5 opponents and throw him out there for Northern Illinois, or who was? Hold on, I have this. Louisiana Tech. I always forget Louisiana Tech for whatever reason. Do you throw them out there for Northern Illinois? Do you hold on and throw them out there for Louisiana Tech before the Michigan game? Like it's going to be very interesting to see what they do on the offensive line. The defensive side of things, everything's up in the air, especially after losing Miles Farmer. Seeing where they go with the safety position. A lot of guys are cross-training at corner and safety. a very highly anticipated depth chart. Not only because it's a new regime and it's a new season, but just because there are so many positions that we don't know who the starter is going to be.
Well, and it's just a new set of eyes on some of the same players even can make a difference, as we're kind of seeing at running back. Looks like Gabe Irvin is going to get the start over Anthony Grant. Again, maybe with the previous staff, Grant got the nod there. So it's just kind of interesting to see how all this plays out. And like you said, I mean, the depth chart, everybody wants to see it. I think it'll change quite a bit throughout the season. I think, there's going to be a lot of those races, or maybe you have some of those oars on there. And somebody's going to kind of establish themselves. Some of the newer players, freshmen, the JUCO and Kai Wallen, or just the transfers. It might take a little bit to get going, or, any player. It might, halfway through your junior season, your sophomore season, you might hit a spark and have something turn on and you start, balling out. So it's going to be fun to see this team. However, as Rashawn was kind of going in the previous shows, looking at Lindy's or Athlon, I can't remember which one it was, and basically had the rankings out there for individual positions. And that's where I find it very interesting. And I've said this before, and I think it to be the case. With previous teams, and not making bowl games over the last several years, I always thought the talent was there to be a bowl team. I think that's more questionable than ever right now. And that's, again, not a shot against the current roster. There's just not a whole lot of guys that stand out, not a whole lot of guys that are making all these all Big Ten lists or anything like that.
Now, is that just because a lot of the roster is new? Or is that just the Big Ten and the people who make these decisions actually looking at the roster this year and not just saying, oh, it's Nebraska, this person's at Nebraska, they should be good this season? Which one of those do you think it is? Just the fact that there's a lot of new faces, new names on this roster, or just that people are not getting tired of, but just not just looking at somebody with a Nebraska jersey on and saying, yeah, this guy's going to be good?
I do think Nebraska's lost the benefit of the doubt in that, and that's probably earned by, deserve it by now. But I think it's the new thing, along with you just didn't retain the guys that would be there. I mean, Garrett Nelson, if you bring him back, Trey Palmer, if you bring him back, those are all conference type guys. Hard to argue with Trey Palmer right now, but Garrett Nelson might make the Dolphins. So, maybe it was a good decision one way or the other. But
if you keep Casey Thompson, is he closer to all Big Ten?
Closer.
Like, is he like all Big Ten third team?
I don't know,
because he's one of the returning quarter, or
be one of the three
returners, or does Cade McNamara going from Michigan to Iowa still take that?
I think probably Cade McNamara would still take it. And again, a part of that has to do with are you winning? In Nebraska just hasn't won enough. But I think too, when you look at like this, it was kind of interesting because Joel Klatt had some comments we can go over here in a second. But among those, he was basically saying what I'm saying is that, well, he called it a total rebuild for Nebraska. But he said that obviously they might have been a worse team, you could argue, at the end of the Mike Riley era than they were at the end of Scott Frost era. But you could have a real culture issue, which I did not expect from Scott Frost. Now, hearing from Bill Bush this morning, he says it's not a culture issue. So, I mean, good kids on the team and stuff like that. So, but there is like when
everybody always throws that culture word out there,
right,
every time. That's
I
feel like that's just a word that you can just throw out, just like, oh, things aren't going right, bad culture.
But the thing is too, like they don't have a winning culture. And
they don't.
And that might not be like, okay, day to day, they're not doing this thing or that thing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they literally do not have a winning culture because they have not won since 2016. It's not within the locker room. You have a few Bulldogs, Georgia Bulldogs that you brought in. Could they just bring the whole Georgia culture over? Probably not. So it's I don't know. I wouldn't call it a complete rebuild. But it is. I mean, you're not starting from where you are when Bo Pelini was leaving. I mean, it's not like Frank Soule just leaving his excellent defense around. They do have a long ways to go. The good news is, at least with at least for now, the teams that they've been playing, they've been close, and a lot of those teams win by playing just good, solid football. Don't get in their own way. Nebraska's been that team that gets in its own way.
You play mistake-free football. You had, again, kind of going back to what we were talking about with the talent issue, you had enough talent where if you played mistake-free or, less mistake football, you're in all those games, even with all the mistakes you are making. So if you, throw less interceptions, have one less fumble, don't get a holding penalty after you get a first down on 3rd and long, don't jump off sides in a terrible situation, you might win some of these games if you don't make some and not a shot at anybody, but some of the dumb play calls that had been going on. Maybe it's not the play calling, but just the way that it was executed. Some of those late in games, maybe you win some more games. So yeah, it's the small things that the other teams do right. Nebraska had been doing wrong for so long.
Yeah, and that was what was so weird about that Iowa game is Iowa was like they're the program that's known for like we'll punt at the 35-yard line, you know, like we'll do everything we can to keep this a low scoring game and somehow gut it out. We'll kick field goals down by 3 possessions to cut it to 3 possessions, you know, it's the same stuff.
We're gonna pick at the end of the game to seal it because that's what we do.
Yeah, but they just couldn't. I mean, they had all those mistakes and all the turnovers and stuff in the Nebraska game, which you know,
very uncharacteristic.
Very uncharacteristic of them. But Nebraska hopefully can kind of take that model, but it's easier said than done. I think that was kind of the idea with the Mike Riley hire was Bo Pelini. You know, he's got this program at a certain point. It might be stuck where it's at. Let's bring in a different coach. Might not even be a better coach, but a different coach to kind of push some different buttons. And you saw what happened. That team went from, you know, a 9-10 win team to losing to a Purdue and Daryl Hazel in midway through the season, who didn't have any other Big Ten wins in like 4 years. I mean, it was terrible. Now, by the end of the year, they were able to clean it up. And I do give, you know, the Pelini teams and recruiting and stuff like that a lot of credit for that 9-win team the next year. But it's not as simple as just like, oh, we were close, then nothing's going to change. We're just going to keep it at that level and then build from there. That's very difficult to do.
Yeah, it's not the same as just getting a different set of eyes on whatever project you're working on and improving it from there. There's a lot more things that are going to have to go into this team, and I mean, you've seen it with all of the departures, the transfers, the people taking the retirement packages or whatever you want to call them on the team, and Rule in this company, Rule and his coaches bringing in all of these transfers, not fixing up, but getting this recruiting class to whatever level they wanted to get it to, getting some of the guys that they think will fit their program to a better level, and putting together a team that they think will be able to compete in the Big Ten. They're not taking what Scott Frost had and just, you know, putting on a new coat of paint. They took it down to the nuts and bolts and are trying to rebuild the Nebraska football car and trying to see if it'll, you know, start up and run this season. That's what they're going for.
Yeah, and it's not an easy start against Minnesota. Again, you know, it's kind of this balancing act of preparing for Minnesota, very much respecting that program, but not, you know, building them up as if they're Alabama or anything. I mean, it's a winnable game.
Respect, not fear.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, but it's definitely going to be a difficult game, and hopefully one that Nebraska can edge out. Marcus Satterfield did hit the podium today, along with some other players. I thought one of the interesting notes that I got just looking around Twitter here. Shout out to Steve Mark for tweeting this out. I said Satterfield's said the completion percentage goal for Jeff Sims is around 65%. He said if you can hit that number, you generally have a good season throwing the ball. Mark did the math. Sims' best completion percentage was 60% at Georgia Tech. So if you're kind of looking at the last several years, he was around 59% last year, 60% in 2021, and in the year that he played the most in 2020, around 55%. They have talked a lot about him in developing as a passer, but you know, that is a 65. That's a tough mark to hit.
Yeah, and to keep that percentage, to kind of build it up and keep that percentage, you would think there's going to be a decent amount of checkdowns, a decent amount of short routes to the tight ends, to the running backs coming out of the backfield. Not a whole lot of deep passes going down the field because those aren't high completion passes. So hopefully, and this is just me looking into it, hopefully that means that the tight ends are going to be used more than what they've been. I mean, Travis Vokalek caught 2 touchdown passes for the Ravens in the preseason last night. He had 2 touchdown catches in his 3 years at Nebraska. Granted, one of those was a redshirt year, but 2 years at Nebraska, 2 years at Rutgers. He had 2 touchdown catches at Rutgers, 2 touchdown catches at Nebraska in his 4 years, and he had 2 touchdown catches for the Ravens in last night's game. Yeah, it's preseason, but still.
Yeah.
Criminally underutilized tight ends is something that Nebraska knows all too well about when they go to the NFL and they have some type of success. So hopefully getting and keeping his completion percentage, that's Jeff Sims, at 65% means that the tight ends and the running backs will be catching a lot more passes. And then obviously you're going to be taking those shots down the field, but that and I know it's not terribly high, but that high of a completion percentage means that there's going to be some shorter passes mixed in with those intermediate and deeper pass routes. So that's something that I'm looking forward to with Jeff Sims and Satterfield. He also said that they're running the ball really well, and the offensive line is one of the hardest working and consistent groups on the offensive side of the ball. That's something that you really like to hear. Even if it's just hardworking and consistent, you think that you can take that over and have some sort of success once the season starts. They're working hard. They're being consistent in practice. And I know, I have the same thought. Does that just mean that the defensive line isn't very good? Or does that mean that I don't want to think about that? They're working hard. They're consistent. Hopefully it translates to that Minnesota game.
I know, and you mentioned, some of the offensive linemen in kind of a big thought, I guess, around Nebraska football is this huge belief in Teddy Prohaska. You've had, I think, Dominic Raiola, I don't remember if it was these airwaves, but I think he came on and said at some point, it was very much thought that that's a future pro. And so there, that type of compliment is something that, it's hard to take away and hard to get out of your mind. But at the same time, we've had, you've heard from Matt Rule, who said he hasn't been the number one tackle since he's been here. But I know there's a big part of the media, or not the media, the fan base, that's going to struggle really seeing too much more upside with this offensive line if you have Ben Hart and Corcoran starting at tackle again.
Yeah, it's hard when you have the same two guys that have been on the bookends of your offensive line for the last few years, and it hasn't been a very solid offensive line. But at the same time, with all due respect, we've seen Teddy Prohaska in 4-5 games, and we keep anointing him as this savior at left tackle, this NFL type left tackle.
Yeah.
We saw him play really well against a Northwestern team that was garbage. Nebraska blew them out of the water, and the very next game he gets his knee blown out against against Michigan. Sure, he was holding his own against Aiden Hutchinson, who ended up being the number 1 overall draft pick that year, for 2.25 quarters. But even then, he gets his knee blown out. That's hard to recover from as an offensive lineman, especially as a tackle who's 6'10", almost 7 feet tall, when leverage is the name of the game.
Yeah.
He comes back the next season, plays a little bit, and then hurts his knee again. I don't remember if it was the same knee or the other knee, but hurts his knee again. 2 serious season-ending knee injuries, and we're expecting him to come back and be a dominant left tackle. I think that's a lot to ask, first off, with the knee injuries, and second, off of a guy that we haven't seen a lot from. I'm not saying that he can't reach that level. I'm not saying that the coaches are wrong for believing in him and they've seen more than we've seen, but it's hard for me to buy into that when we haven't seen him do it for an extended period of time against a solid defense.
Yeah. Byron the Hog Farmer says, better system. Nuri's back. Add Scott. It won't be worse. I don't know if your goal is to not be worse than last year. You're still in for a rough.
Still not going to be. Yeah, you can be better and still not be good.
Yes. So I mean, we'll kind of see how it plays out. But I agree with you at this point. This is kind of just ultimate hope in bringing him up or mentioning him Prohaska as like the savior. I think he's back to kind of where a lot of these guys are. It's like, you got to prove it now. You're back to kind of prove it mode. And that's going to be the same for Nuri. I mean, I think Nuri was probably the second best offensive lineman 2 years ago after Cam Jurgens, but a year off of football, might take some time to get back into it. I mean, even Ben Scott, playing in a different league, I know he wants to play center because that's where he sees himself at a shot at the NFL, but the Big Ten is a little bit different than the Pac-12. So, everybody's got a lot to prove. And then again, it looks like, Latovsky might get the start. Probably Ethan Piper there.
I think if Ethan Piper went to Big Ten Media Days, you can pretty much pencil him in.
Yeah,
as one of the guys.
And is likely to get one of the would have gotten, I should say, one of the single-digit numbers as well.
Yeah,
I just know Latovsky. They
love Latovsky.
They've been speaking well about him too. So maybe there's some depth there, but again, just a lot to prove still from that offensive line. And we'll see. I mean, it's because they're asking a lot for it too. They're basically asking them to be what they build the offense off of, which is a great idea. Systematically, that's where you need to start. But they don't have Trey Palmer's speed to kind of bail them out if they just need. I mean, that was a lot of the offense last year.
It was, even if you don't have time, throw it up, trail, run under it.
Yeah. And he made, I mean, the Iowa game, the Purdue game, I mean, they're like defenses just couldn't stop him, and he was the entire offense.
For whatever reason, they kept single covering him with one corner and not putting a safety over the top. Don't know why, but that's what they decided to do. And maybe, with the amount that they're talking about running the ball, and Satterfield said that they have been running the ball really well in practice. And again, don't say, oh, well, they're running it because the defense sucks. We don't know yet. We'll see after Minnesota, probably how this team's actually going to look, but they say that they're running the ball well. If they're able to do that, that'll, relieve some of the pass rush on Sims, relieve some of the pass rush on the offensive line. So maybe with that, you'll have some more time to get things going. And it's one of those things where if you're running well, they won't rush the passer as much. And then you start passing well, they start rushing the passer, you start running the ball. And it's one of those where you keep going back and forth, or whatever you decide to do there with the offensive side of the ball. But the offensive line might be able to have a little bit of a reprieve with how much and how good, depending on how it goes, Jeff Sims is able to run the ball if he's able to stay healthy also.
Yeah.
They talk about the quarterback run game a lot. You got to worry about the health of your quarterback, especially in a league like the Big Ten that has all the big monsters who are going to be, laying the wood on your quarterback. So we'll see how much he's involved in running the ball and if he's able to stay healthy throughout the season, because in the ACC at Georgia Tech, he got injured a decent amount as well running the ball. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's really all it is.
Yeah, and that's why the depth chart's so interesting. That the first game is we just don't know a whole lot about this team. I mean, it's a different philosophy from last year. Mark Whipple's offense, just completely different idea, at least from what we've heard. Maybe Marcus Satterfield in this offense, goes a little bit different than what they've preaching all year. And maybe that's not their plan, but that's what you have to do. That's what you have to adjust to do to try to get some wins. We'll kind of see. But like you, I think there's going to be a lot of dependency on Jeff Sims in the run game. If they can't get the traditional run game going, amp that up quite a bit more. And then where's the drop off to quarterback number 2, who they can't even decide on? I mean, I think they
have a quarterback who passes better and a quarterback who runs better.
Right.
That's not great.
And the quarterback who passes better hasn't been too impressive passing since we've seen him.
Yeah,
so,
he also runs pretty good,
and he runs pretty good. So it's just a lot. And again, with this kind of totality of what kind of roster is Matt Rule inheriting. Again, just kind of borrowing from early break this morning, I thought it was interesting because they were saying, as opposed to Joe Klatt's comments, who says Matt Rule's going for a slow build, Deion's going for a fast build. Early break was saying, well, if Deion took over at Nebraska, he wouldn't need to cut everybody. Maybe he'd feel like there's a lot more to work with here, and maybe that's where Matt Rule's picking up with. But it's just a hard read because, again, to me, from just watching Nebraska football for a long time, this is about as difficult of a roster position that I've seen be taken over by these coaches, and the previous coaches haven't been successful when they've done it.
Yeah. You've got, like you mentioned earlier, there's some talent, maybe not as much as Bo Pelini left Mike Riley, or as Mike Riley left Scott Frost, but there's some talent on there.
Yeah.
And we'll see what Matt Rule and company is able to do with it.
And we're pretty close to, once again, week 0 this Saturday. Then, of course, next Thursday, Nebraska kicks off their season against Minnesota. We'll talk more about this and a lot more college football headlines coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket. This is the Ticket Water Group.
Junior Achievement of Lincoln inspires and prepares young people for success. Learn more about the involved organization and the success stories over the years each Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. for the Junior Achievement Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Great Diesel and Equipment Services is hiring and seeking motivated applicants. Gray offers a second to the package that includes health, dental, vision, 401k, paid vacation, and paid holidays. They offer great pay and tuition reimbursement or a tool purchase program for qualified candidates. It's a fun, friendly team with lots of variety and work assignments, so there's something for everybody. You apply for theirs today at grayusa.com. Visit them in person just off I-80 and North 56th Street. Come be a part of the Gray Difference.
And tune in as Early Break with myself, Steve Siddle, and Bill Bush broadcast from the Nebraska Army National Guard hangar ahead of the A show this weekend. You won't want to miss this one. That this Friday, Early Break from 6 to 8 a.m. at the Nebraska Army Guard hangar.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook. Their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem, call 1-800-BET-OVER.
IT project and managing IT can definitely be frustrating. Whether you have an in-house IT department or you manage it yourself, let Hamilton be your experts. At Hamilton, we take the frustration out of your business tech issues with managed IT solutions. We specialize in co-managed and fully managed IT. Does your business need better managed IT? Hire your local experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working at MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out Sandhills Jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are at our headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer and the best place in town for shuffleboard. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for the Shuffleboard Corner. Come on Sundays for Open House League all day starting at 11 a.m. and enjoy $3 tall boys and $3 wells. Shake off the start to the work week with karaoke on Monday nights. And don't forget, happy hour is every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and you are always welcome to bring in your own food. Arnold's Tavern in the heart of Havelock.
Hey, moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash the fun. Visit Haymarket Park all summer for fireworks Fridays, souvenir Saturdays, Sunday family fun days, and more. With 50 home games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Planning an event? Make it a home run. Group discounts. When you need an outing the whole family will enjoy, unleash the fun with the Salt Dogs. Call 402-42255 or visit saltdogs.com for tickets.
General contractors, business owners, property owners. The success of your business requires doing business with the right people. And the right people, when it comes to drywall, acoustical ceilings, and specialty products, are at Premier Drywall. Kevin and his crew will give your project the response and attention it deserves.
You'll get all of the attention to detail and quality that you would expect from someone who's been in the business for 30 years. For your new builds, build-out, renovations, reach out to Kevin. Kevin at premierdw.com. Premier Drywall in Lincoln.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast today, lots of sun. It'll be a very hot day. We'll see an afternoon high of around 104. Tonight, we'll see partly cloudy skies and very warm overnight lows with a low of around 79. Tomorrow, we'll see another very hot day, partly sunny skies, and a high again of around 104. Meteorologist Kyle Cutter from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the Water Cooler with some interesting news. Reports coming out of Lincoln, Nebraska. President Ted Carter expected to be named next president at Ohio State.
What does it mean?
Yeah, could put this university in shambles. No, probably not. Of course,
maybe.
Kind of interesting because recently this summer, they had a Board of Regents meeting to move more responsibility for Husker athletics under Ted Carter. So a little bit different, different approach. We'll see from the higher ups at the university in next couple of weeks. I mean, I don't know how long it'll take them to get another president, but kind of surprising news. Not necessarily anything that's going to be ground shaking or anything, and I think get in the way of this football team. But
maybe
some
I don't
kind
know
of
what
interesting
it means.
stuff. Yeah,
he's going to have to change that bio on his Twitter.
Is he?
8th president of the University of Nebraska.
Well, I don't think it's official yet. It's just I think it's an expected to come along.
Unless there's a change of heart.
Could be.
That's what it says on the Nebraska Examiner.
Could be a change of heart.
Barring a last-minute change of heart on either side, the University of Nebraska will need a new president soon.
Good.
Taking over at Ohio State in Columbus.
Yeah.
The Ohio State Board of Trustees has a meeting set for 2 p.m. Eastern, in which the trustees are expected to tap Carter. Ohio State officials declined to confirm details Tuesday morning. It's been privately confirmed. Yes, he is gone. It's true what you heard. You're not wrong.
Yes. It sounds like it's going to happen. I was thinking the other day too, because we talk about Michigan probably as the measuring stick game, and I've talked about this offseason too. Like they don't blow you away or like wow you like Ohio State does. I was thinking about Nebraska and Ohio State since Nebraska joined the Big Ten.
Don't do that,
because that is it's kind of tough to do.
don't do that. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you look back at those games?
Well, it's because sometimes I think that is like tells you the measuring stick, right? Like sometimes, when Nebraska's close in some of the games, it changes the way you view the season. So when Nebraska was close with Scott Frost in year one against Ohio State, it was like they're coming on. This is a big deal.
Was that the Luke McCaffrey reverse?
No, that was 2020. That started in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 2019. Then they got blown out the college game day thing.
Oh, that yep.
And that was bad. Like that took season number 2 is kind of going in. We'll see where it goes to this is not where
like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. and then year 3, that was hard to kind of judge was 2020 because it was like, what do you really expect? Nebraska was supposed to play Purdue or somebody in the first game. And then Nebraska and Ohio State get kind of flexed there. Nebraska played well for like a half and the score didn't look good, but you felt pretty good. And then that season didn't go well either.
No, it did not.
And then 2020, so it doesn't always fit the billing, but like 2021 was of course, the close game, the only game Nebraska didn't lose by 1 score. They lost by 9. And but that was kind of told part of the story too. I'm just interested because I don't know if Michigan, because I've been saying I think Michigan's the measuring stick game, but that's because Ohio State's not on the schedule. If Ohio State's on the schedule, I still think that's your measuring stick game.
Do you think Michigan's the measuring? Is it weird to say that I think Michigan State might be? Although they haven't had the most success outside of the first year with Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
So I think, for a team that's kind of middle of the road in the Big Ten East, I think if you can go up to Lansing, up to the woodshed, and beat Michigan State like you almost did last year, right? 2 years ago. Was that last year?
Woodshed?
Yeah, the punt return.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. 2021. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That one. If you can go up there and take care of business and beat Michigan State, I think that one might tell you. I know it's later in the season, but I think that might tell you how Nebraska fares for the future. It's like the fourth to last game of the season, but I think that'll show you where Nebraska's probably at for next season, just because that's a team that they're not the best, but they're definitely not the worst. They're like right there in the middle of the Big Ten.
Yeah, when I say measuring stick game, that to me that's usually when you're like looking against the top programs in the nation. Like how do you compare,
how close are you to getting yourself out of the cellar?
Because it's not necessarily are you going to win this game. It's like what do we look like against a great team?
I get that.
So that's kind of what I was thinking there. But
you could do that with first year coach Luke Fickell in Wisconsin, who's supposed to win the Big Ten West.
Yeah, I was looking.
And I think I saw somewhere he's the 5th best coach in the Big Ten.
I don't know. He's a tough read again. That's such a tough read for me on that one because I think it's a good hire. Like almost anywhere around the nation, I'd say, oh yeah, Luke Fickell, that's a good hire. But what they're doing to the offense, I just don't agree with. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. By the way, the FPI, as we're looking at over the schedule too, that came out, has Nebraska at 6-win, but it has a 50% chance of beating 51% chance. So this is part of the Nebraska 6 wins over Purdue and Maryland. So basically 4 wins they expect, 2 coin flip games that maybe could turn the tide. To me, if you're kind of looking at an even team, kind of like what you're seeing with Michigan State, and I'd put this team above them, but I think if you could get a win against Maryland, and I know they're coming to Lincoln, and we don't necessarily see Maryland at that level, but I think this is their chance to take another step up.
It's a pretty solid Maryland team.
What Maryland's done the last couple of years is get blown out against teams like Ohio. They can't play against them. But they beat the teams they're supposed to. They're kind of like the Bo Pelini teams, with probably a slightly worse record. But in any case,
Maryland is Bo Pelini.
That's kind of what I expect out of Maryland this year. And along that line, I expect them to probably beat Nebraska. But the FPI doesn't. I know a lot of people aren't necessarily shaking in their boots over Maryland. But I think that could be the swing game. You're talking about if Nebraska gets to a bowl game or not. I think that could be the swing game.
Do you think that Maryland game would go a long way against Wisconsin and Iowa? Like, if you lose that Maryland game, then you have to go up to Madison and then come home and face Iowa. Like, that's going to be a hard last 2 weeks of the season. But if you beat that Maryland team, you have all the momentum in the world. And I know it's just, you get a win, it's all the momentum in the world. But beating a Maryland team who should have a winning record, a pretty solid record going into that game, I think that, like you said, will go a long way in determining if Nebraska makes a bowl game or not.
But the other thing, and you mentioned Michigan State, the FBI has Nebraska at a 27.1% chance of winning that one.
Yeah, so I saw something.
I don't see that one.
Michigan State has like double-digit wins in odd-numbered years.
Yeah, they do.
So it's an odd-numbered year.
They're going to be great this year.
They won like 10 or 11 the last couple odd-numbered years, except for one where they went like 8-4 or whatever it was. So maybe this is going to be Michigan State's year.
Well, Byron off of YouTube says MSU is going to be bad. They lost 2 of their best players unexpectedly in the portal, including Peyton Thorne, by the way, who's going to start at Auburn. But yeah, I just don't see. I don't fear Michigan State at all. That's why I was kind of surprised to see that not included as part of the FPI wins. I think a lot of people probably feel like got a pretty good shot at Michigan.
I think you have to go up to Michigan State.
On the road.
That one hurts a little bit. They have been more consistent. They've got their coach returning, although they lost, multiple key pieces. They've still got, the same defensive look. So everybody's used to it. So that, that'll give them a couple of points. Again, being at home will give them a couple of points. It's a new coach at Nebraska. It's all these things that give Michigan State the edge. It is an odd numbered year. It's like, what was the San Francisco Giants in even numbered years, I think is what it was. And they won the World Series. So that's one of those things. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship, just that they have a solid season.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of in the camp that Kenneth Walker might have been a bigger part of that Mel Tucker special year than Mel Tucker was.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens.
We don't know. We'll see. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll tell you about a ticket promotion one team is doing that makes us kind of wonder how that would affect Nebraska's ticket sales if they did it.
It'd be funny.
It would be funny. We'll talk about that coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Ticket Water Cooler. We'll be back.
Well, tell a friend who was on the about going to this mail.
I would tell them to go to us today. Don't hesitate. You're going to second guess yourself on if it's the right decision. There's ways that treatments work. I'm living proof that it can completely change your life for the better.
Join thousands of men who have changed their lives with testosterone treatment. Slow down the aging process and live life. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmail.com.
Landmark Implement is hosting their annual Air Seeder Clinic at the Landmark Holdridge Support Center near the airport on Wednesday, August 30th. Get a refresher on your air seeding equipment from Landmark's team so you're ready for seeding this fall. Session topics will include cover crops, seed start 2 and 4, calibrations, tractor prep, and more. Dinner will begin at 5:30 with the clinic to follow. All at the Landmark Holdridge Support Center on August 30th. Learn more at landmarkimp.com/events.
If your car has sent you to the sidelines, Eustace Body Help. With gold-class certified technicians, OEM parts, and free loaner cars, Eustace Body Shop is your best choice this Husker season. And with 6 locations across central and eastern Nebraska, we've got you covered, whether you're rooting at home or you're headed to Memorial Stadium. Get a free online quote at EustaceBodyShop.com and let's get you back in the game.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Vershawn Jackson for Brant Excavating. Brant's been in business for 29 years, and they specialize in a variety of things. If you're looking for someone to get the job done in precision demolition, excavating, trucking, mass grading, and site prep, Brant is the place to call. To set up a quote or learn more, call Brant Excavating at 402-474-4113 or go to BrantExcavating.com. They're also hiring, so join the team today. Brant Excavating, a part of the Bauer brand, who reminds you, go Big Brand!
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to aimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
You deserve the best. With a Liberty First MasterCard, you can pay down your high-rate debt and could save hundreds when you transfer balance. The Liberty First Credit Union MasterCard has no balance transfer fees, no cash advance fees, and no annual fee. And with a fixed rate as low as 9.99% APR, and you choose rewards, you'll be able to manage your card your way. Visit LibertyFirstCU.com. In terms are based on your credit and subject to change. Federally insured by NCUA. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer, and the best place in town for sure. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for the Shuffleboard Corner. Come on Sundays for Open House League all day starting at 11 a.m. and enjoy $3 and $3 wells. Shake off the start to the work week with karaoke on Monday nights. And don't forget, happy hour is every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and you are always welcome in your own food. Arnold's Tavern in the heart of Havelock.
You're counting on your team to win. So why not prove it? By placing Warhorse Sportsbook, their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in-person casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
IT, it's piling up again. Definitely have an in-house IT department. Manage it yourself. Let Hamilton be your experts. At Hamilton, we take the frustration out of your business tech issues with managed IT solutions. We specialize in co-managed and fully managed IT. Does your business need better managed IT? Hire your local expert. Hire Hamilton at HamiltonBusiness.com.
General contractors, business owners, property owners. The success of your business requires doing business with the right people. And the right people when it comes to drywall, acoustical ceilings, and specialty product, Premier Drywall. Kevin and his crew will give your project the response and it deserves.
All of the detail and quality that you would expect from someone who's been in the business for 30 years. For your new builds, build-outs, or renovations, reach out to Kevin. Kevin at PremierDW.com. Premier Drywall in Lincoln.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on a Tuesday on the Ticket Water Cooler. Thanks for joining us. We're talking a little bit of football. Of course, some interesting notes coming out of Marcus Satterfield's press conference today. So we'll stay tuned to the Ticket and check that out throughout the rest of the shows as they break down what's going on there. Also, we mentioned at the top of the last segment that Nebraska President Ted Carter expected to be named next president at Ohio State. So that's a little bit interesting as well. But we've invited Nick Sainert in for the crossover as we get ready for the happy hour. And as we do so, I wanted to talk about a ticket promotion and wonder if it would work at Nebraska.
Can I ask Nick a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you putting your name in the running for new Nebraska president since you're an alumni?
I am not. I could be. Unfortunately, you put my resume and Ted Carter's resume.
That's pretty close.
They're very far off.
He just got a few more years of experience.
I am not a Top Gun pilot. I am not a former Navy fighter. So it is what it is. It looks different. But no, here's the crazy part, guys. Nebraska is going to be hiring their a president and a chancellor all within just a few months. Like they're probably gonna make the hire within a year of each other, which is just crazy. And I think Schaefer tweeted this out that since 2021, Nebraska's lost its athletic director, head football coach, president, and chancellor.
Things are getting serious.
Saying they lost their athletic director and head coach is
well,
they lost them. Are they here?
They didn't lose them.
They
canned them.
They misplaced them.
They have had to make hires for those 4 positions.
Like a pair of keys. Yeah, they just misplaced their athletic director and their head coach. I don't know where they went.
It does make it interesting over the years because I know, Harvey Perlman got a lot of blame for just, a lot of different coaching staff and changes there for quite some time. But how the different faces change that are, in part of making these decisions for Nebraska. And so it's just kind of weird that you kind of think of, well, like if you think of yourself as an outsider, a graduate or whatever, and you're like, well, I'm not necessarily part of the decision making. Well, that changes too. So it's just interesting.
Well, and Ted Carter, he got hired here in January 1st of 2020. And in a short time, he's done a lot for Nebraska. If this is true, which I would assume that it is, coming from the Examiner. If this is true, this is a big loss for Nebraska. It's a big loss for Nebraska on the academic side. It's a huge loss for them on the athletic side as well. He privately raised $3 million for stuff. He has been a big part in getting people to invest in higher education in Nebraska. I mean, it is a pretty big loss for Nebraska, for the state, I should say. If Ted Carter does decide, or has officially, is going to be introduced as the Ohio State president, it's a big loss.
Do you think
there's not a whole lot of them out there?
I mean, but how much will it affect the football team or something?
Well, no, but it affects Nebraska, like
just the university as a whole.
It affects a lot more than maybe we realize. I think also you look at the jobs getting shuffled around in the Big Ten right now. USC just took Washington's athletic director yesterday. Was it athletic director or president? I believe athletic director yesterday. It was announced now today with Nebraska, Ohio State taking Nebraska's president. I think it's a big deal. Yeah, maybe on the football scope of it. Ted Carter was also a big factor in drawing Matt Rule to Nebraska. Like, so if we want to talk about football and keep it on football, yeah, it does affect it, I think, quite a bit. So,
yeah. So is there a chance that Matt Rule has success in Nebraska? Ohio State cans Ryan Day. Matt Rule to Ohio State.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Also, now Ted Carter going to Ohio State is going to have to replace a legendary athletic director in Gene Smith, who's going to be retiring in the next year. So right off the bat, he's going to be tasked with, all right, athletic director who's capable of running the Ohio State University.
Trev Alberts, come on. He's going to poach everything from Nebraska. Dang it, Ted.
So we'll see. I mean, it will, like you said, it will affect some things at Nebraska. I think you can trust them to make a good hire, though. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Memphis football is having a ticket promotion where fans can buy tickets for $60 to see their opener. Their opener, I don't have it listed in front of me. I think it's like Bethune-Cookman or something of that level. So, you think, well, that's not a great deal. But the fans will get free tickets to the next game until Memphis loses. So you could have quite a bit of a run here. Memphis was 7-6 last year. Their next home games after the scheduled W, as I mentioned, is Navy, who was 4-8 last year. and Memphis actually defeated them. So you could see at least you're likely to get, maybe 3 tickets out of this if you get the win. And then you'd go to the Missouri game. Missouri was 6-7 last year. Now, eventually, Memphis is betting that they're not going to go undefeated because after Navy, they play Missouri. And then after Missouri, you play Boise State in Tulane. So eventually, at some point, your streak of free games will run out. But
I don't know, man.
If they lose, they get the free tickets.
No, if they win,
If
they
they
get
win,
tickets
they
to the
get
next home game for free.
Interesting.
And they do open with Bethune-Cookman. You were correct.
It was actually Bethune-Cookman.
It is
All right,
Bethune-Cookman.
I was just throwing that out there as like a
Bethune-Cookman, and then they go on the road. Then Navy at home, and then Missouri, Boise State, Tulane, South Florida, SMU. That's their home slate.
Yeah, I stopped looking after Tulane. I was like, they're not going to get through Boise State or Missouri, Boise State, and Tulane.
I don't know.
Likelihood. Maybe Memphis is the surprise team this year. What would that look like at Nebraska? Run down their home games if you bought $60 tickets.
All right, $60 tickets. So you buy tickets to the Northern Illinois game, and if Nebraska wins, you get free tickets. Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech. That's it. Michigan's the next home game.
Oh, Michigan.
Michigan's home game.
Dang.
Next home
But,
game.
yeah, the promotion
That's it.
would
You get 2 free.
You get $30 ticket per game.
Yeah.
Well,
Look at
likely you get to the third. I mean, you'd get tickets for Michigan.
Yeah.
That's right.
It
Yeah,
just
which
wouldn't
is
move
a big
on.
one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Too bad it's big noon.
I don't have an issue with that at all.
I love that. You don't want a big noon spotlight?
I wanted a night game again.
Oh, a night game, yeah.
I understand.
I just think that's especially those two teams. It's a helmet game. It's whoever wins gets the 97 trophy.
Don't say that anymore. We don't want to do that.
We
anymore.
actually don't want that to
Not
happen.
right
sorry. I have to wait till Nebraska's good before we put the 97
Nebraska's
trophy.
better
on.
at 97 regardless.
The third to fourth quarter fire show.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the last night game was spectacular.
Yeah, I just think it's great.
But more big noon, the better.
Pretty sure the Northern Illinois game's a night game, right?
Yeah, it's on Fox Sports 1, I believe
so.
Anyway,
Fox Business.
So, speaking of Navy, how do you guys think they play against Notre Dame this Saturday in Ireland post Ken Niumatalolo era at Navy?
I think they lose, and I think they lose big.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it's gonna be a
Good.
disaster,
Shout out to Marcus
likely.
Freeman.
And then I think that both coaches lose their job at the end of the season.
That's not true.
That's how it happens.
Ken Niumatalolo.
When you play in Ireland, you lose your job.
No,
That's how it works.
no. There's a lot of Northwestern football players that wrote a letter. There was like 82 of them.
Yeah.
That wrote a letter saying that Pat Fitzgerald was wrongly fired. So not good.
Well, too late now.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just be like, you know what, Pat, we'll bring it back. Okay. I'm sorry.
You know what? We did mess up. Come on down.
They go from a 3-day suspension to firing to let's just do 3 games.
You know what? We should just do those first 3 games.
Which, by the way, Michigan also self-imposing a suspension on Jim Harbaugh for 3 games. That'll be East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green.
I love self-imposed suspensions or self-imposed bans or fines or anything, because you do that and you're like, see, look, we did this to ourselves, and then the NCAA is like, cool, we're still going to suspend you. So even if they do this, if the NCAA finds that he's guilty of anything, he'll take those 3 games that Michigan self-imposed, and then next season, the NCAA will be like, hey, guess what? You're going to miss half the season now.
I don't know if they'll do that, but they wanted 4 games. So even if you...
Well, not saying that it's exactly half the season, but
Yeah.
whenever a school self-imposes a ban or whatever, that's not going to stop the NCAA from doing what they're going to do if they determine that you were guilty.
Sometimes they will just be like, all right, you guys take care of it so we don't have to.
Yeah, lighten the load.
Right. Sometimes they will do that.
Let's head to the Honda of Lincoln hotline and go to Bob. Bob, how's it going? Bob, you
Bob.
sound different, Bob.
Adios.
All right. Well,
Sounds like a phone that hung up.
Yeah.
I would tell you to call back, but we're actually wrapping up the show. But
Yep. Yeah. And we got a lot of stuff to get to in the happy hour.
Yeah, we do. What are we talking about, Nick?
Okay, so first of all, we'll be joined by Lincoln Arneal at 1:30.
Yep, he's coming into the studio.
There you go. Lincoln Arneal at 1:30. Talk definitely Ted Carter moving on to Ohio State. That meeting that Ohio State has scheduled is actually slated for 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. So it'll be coming. It should have just started about 24 seconds ago.
Should we tap in?
Yeah. We'll
Do you think we can get a bug on the wall?
I don't know. If you're in Columbus, maybe Joe Nugent, formerly our TV reporter in Omaha,
You think
he's
so?
now in Columbus.
You should see what he's doing.
I should see if he's got any thoughts. But no, anyway, so we'll talk that. And then also Satterfield today said Jeff Sims, 65% completion percentage.
Yeah.
We compare that to last season's quarterbacks in the Big Ten as well, see what their records were.
All right, that's coming up next here on the Happy Hour. Don't go anywhere on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk, the FM dial. The whole space, FM 11 The Ticket.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Smoked meats, amazing sides. The only problem when they fix you a plate is that at some point, that plate will be empty. But hear me out. What if that plate was never empty? That dream can be your reality with the Mary Ellen's Express Lunch Buffet. From 11 to 2 every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday. One price, all you can eat, and it even comes with a drink. Tell your boss you're taking a long lunch and get down there. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul at 29th and Pine Lake. Let them fix you a plate.
IT projects piling up again? Managing IT can definitely be frustrating. Whether you have an in-house IT department or you manage it yourself, let Hamilton be your experts. At Hamilton, we take the frustration out of your business tech issues with managed IT solutions. We specialize in co-managed and fully managed IT. Does your business need better managed IT? Hire your local experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Hey, it's Jake Sorensen. Tune in this Friday as Early Break with myself, Steve Sipple, and Bill Bush broadcast from the Nebraska Army National Guard hangar ahead of the air show this weekend. You won't want to miss this one. That's this Friday for Early Break from 6 to 8 a.m. at the Nebraska Army National Guard hangar. Join us at this year's Ignite Lincoln 15 at Rococo Theater Thursday, September 14th for an inspiring night of stories that spark change. Get your tickets at ignitelincoln.org. Don't miss this chance to be a part of something extraordinary.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an auto repair facility you can genuinely